I'm going to play around with this a little bit. All right. The lighting is horrible. I apologize for that. It's more important to me that they see you than that they see me. All right.
Gwen, you going to turn this fan off too? Or you want
No, it's good.
turn it
No,
off?
you can leave both of them.
All right.
Dan, you've been sitting much too long, much too long. Welcome, 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 welcome to Truth, a radio program designed with you in mind, a program whose sole purpose. Welcome to Truth, a radio program designed with you in mind, a program whose sole purpose is to empower you, our listeners, for information leads to knowledge, and knowledge is, you got it, power. And as always, I want to empower you to take control of your life, those things that impact you, your family, and your community. As always, too, I want you to go to the website at www.gwen-truth.com so you can access all those resource listings that will make you what? All powerful. And that website again is www.gwen-truth.com. Go there too so you can link up with information concerning your municipalities, your county agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, and advocacy groups. I do want you to go there too so you can chime in on the query that I have going, and that query of course is asking you, since there's a rebound in the economy, are you seeing a rebound in your life? Is it positively impacting you? That's the query that I'm asking you at www.gwen-truth.com. Our program tonight is a very special program, and I've been saying that lately, haven't I? Because they've all been so special, so special. But the individuals with us tonight are very special individuals as well. And they are, of course, Valencia and Devon Robinson. And they're here to talk to you about what a lot of us refer to as the Big C, or cancer, but more particularly concerning a book that they have written together called Promise Me You Will. Promise Me You Will. And we're going to discuss that in more detail in a minute. I'm going to just turn just to show myself on the on the video that I'm going to be uploading, of course, to the website, to YouTube as well. And I'm going to just show more of the individuals that are here speaking, because I do want you guys to get to know them. Valencia and Devon, when we think about cancer, when people hear the word, when they hear that, get the word that there's even the vaguest possibility that a person has been impacted by that, has been affected by that dreaded, and I guess they would call it a disease, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Cancer is a disease.
Yes. And, you know, people go probably a little wacky, right? And all of a sudden start thinking immediately about death. But there's been such progress, hasn't there, in terms of cancer victims, in terms of cancer as we know it. And you know, we'll go ahead and put a plug in for cancer associations and the need for funding so they can do research and try to come up with more in the way of cures. But to backtrack to the time when you first heard that there was a possibility that you had cancer, tell us first about you, because you are more than the disease. Amen. And you are a survivor, but you had help, and Devon is one of those individuals who is also written in the book. I'm going to show everyone the book. It's called Promise Me You Will, and I just recommend everybody buy this book, okay, because it is so inspirational, and it teaches you also about information you need to know, some of which we're going to cover tonight. But tell the listeners about you, because, you know, sometimes people think this only happens to certain people, and that's not the case.
I am a mother of 4, and I'm a school teacher. I was diagnosed when I was 33 and my children were 3, 4, 5, and 8. And the sad part about it is I was not doing my own self-breast exams. I was a busy mother, my husband's a pastor, so I just did not take the time, nor was I taught growing up about doing your self-breast exams, so I just took it for granted. So that's a little bit about me. I'm still teaching after 20 years, and my son, I'll have him introduce himself a little.
Yes, and I told Devon when I shook his hand, I said, I want you to not only introduce yourself, but I'm going to congratulate you on actually winning a 4-year college education, a scholarship. And tell the people about yourself, but also tell them how you won this scholarship and what you're planning to do in the future.
My name is Devon Robinson. I am a 15-year-old sophomore at New Smyrna Beach High School, and I've been entering the Governor's Black History Contest since I was in 4th grade. And the prize for that is you win a college scholarship to any university in the state of Florida. So, in my 9th grade freshman year, I actually got a chance to go meet the governor because of winning the essay contest. So it was a great experience, and the governor is a nice person.
Go ahead, he's that's okay. And so you got the opportunity to meet him, and you wrote an essay, right? Is that how you won the scholarship, you said?
Yes, the essay was about Black history, how things have changed since back then, and what can we do now? What can America do now to maintain cultural unity?
Oh, awesome. You know, that's a very timely subject. It was then, I'm sure, and it's timely now as they look at 50 years since Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech. Did you feel that we had progressed any since that time?
We have progress, but I feel that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but we definitely have progress.
And what did you, when you met the governor, you probably didn't give any ideas to him about some things he needs to be doing, but did you, in your essay, have 1 or 2 suggestions of things we should be doing in this country to make things better culturally?
Not really. I didn't really add anything that we could do, but it's just simple things like voting and getting involved in your community that can help.
Oh, wow. And those are 2 things that I talk about on my program, Devon, a lot too. The fact that people need to get registered, and when you get old enough, I'm sure you're going to register, right? And after you register, that's just half the job being done. Then you got to go and vote. But in order to vote, you really should try to learn the issues and get informed. And you get informed many times by being involved. So that is fantastic. And thank you for sharing that. Now, for those of you, as I've mentioned, Devon is a co-author of this book, Promise Me You Will. And let's start with, again, getting the news. How traumatic an experience is that coming from someone firsthand?
Well, it was very traumatic because as you go throughout your daily life, you know, even though I had gone to the doctor and the midwife discovered the lump, you know, she made me feel so at ease because I was 33. So I really didn't worry. So she scheduled a mammogram, and I went in a couple of weeks later and had the mammogram. And again, they made me feel at ease, so I wasn't worried. There's no history of breast cancer in my family, so I wasn't alarmed. And then after the mammogram, they told me that I needed to have a biopsy, yet still, I wasn't alarmed in any way because I figured this is just the norm. Now after the biopsy, I got a call back. And I still wasn't alarmed because we took Devon with us and my 5-year-old at the time, Jasmine. Jasmine was 5, Devon was 8. I had come from school and my husband picked them up from, one was at school, one was at the daycare, and he met me there with them. Now, knowing what I know now, if the doctor calls you in for information, that means the information is not good. But nevertheless, I was just thinking it was nothing. But we go in, and within 30 seconds, he tells me that I have breast cancer. So my children were there, and we had to go through this entire process of what next. And they gave me everything that I would have to endure and go through, and it was quite shocking. Very, very shocking, to say the least.
And knowing that you are a pastor's wife, your husband pastor of the church out Mount Carmel in Daytona Beach, I'm sure that one of the things you guys fell back on was your faith.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember that first night. I just cried in his arms, and he prayed and I cried, and that was good solace at that moment.
And you know, I will share with the listeners that, you know, I found a lump under my arm. It turned out to be nothing, but all of a sudden I started thinking, oh my God, I got the big C. And I called my sister, who's retired from nursing, and I started telling her about it, and I started crying, you know. And like you, no history of cancer in my family, but I happen to know that that is no guarantee that you will not get cancer.
Most people do not have a history of cancer. So don't even think about the fact that, you know, you don't have a history, because it can happen out of nowhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And people need to understand too, because that it's nothing to play around with, because I've had friends who have passed. A lady who typed up my thesis for my master's degree at Stetson University, she was very happy to do it. I tried to pay her. She said, no, this is one of the things that I want to do just in case. And she ended up, unfortunately, passing from cancer 4 months after that. I dedicated the book to her. But there are so many people who are caught up in that and do not have the kind of results that you have. And that's why, to me, this program is so important, because, as you were saying, you were not doing your self-exams. I rarely ever, you know, once in a blue moon, I just happened to lift up my arms one day in front of the mirror, and I said, oh, what is that? And, you know, people do need to do that. As far advanced as we are, we still need to do our part to check ourselves. Now, Devon, as you sat there watching your parents react to being told this, you talk in the book about the feelings that you got, because this was language and words that you weren't familiar with. So, Devon, the great student that he is, you started to educate yourself about it, right?
Yes. As a matter of fact, when I was in the doctor's office, I was terrified. I didn't know what he was talking about until I sat down with my parents and we talked about it. Her doctor even gave us like some coloring books that told us what is cancer, what should you do for your mom while she is in cancer, what can you do to help. And so that helped me to get along. Educated me and my brother and my sisters.
And as I read in the book too, that once you educated yourself, then you helped take a little bit of the pressure off of your parents, because you helped to share with your brother and your sister what was going on to make them feel at ease.
Yes.
And when you started looking up this, where did you go to look up the information on cancer and all of that? Did you go to the library or certain books, or you go online, or?
My parents, they know I have been interested in medicine. So I just researched the books that they had given me. And I found out more about it that way, as opposed to looking on the internet.
Oh, okay. So you're going to be a doctor one day, huh?
Yes.
And did this help to kind of, you had been thinking about, did this help to kind of nudge you even more in that direction?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Watching some of what your mom went through with this?
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, again, I say to anybody and everybody, please read the book. Promise me you will. But your experience, that was just the start of what turned out to be not just a traumatic experience, but a horrifying and painful experience overall as well. And as you share in your book, there's some things that women just need to be careful about in terms of their doctor, in terms of, all the things that go on, right?
Absolutely. The first thing is being proactive. Doing your own self-breast exams, because you're going to be the first person to likely feel something that's not normal. Because if you're constantly examining yourself when there's something out of place, you're going to know, and then you can report that to your doctor. Your doctor only does your exam once a year. So that is the first and most important thing. We have to be proactive. We have to eat right, and we need to exercise. Those are the big three things right there. But I was a busy mother, 4, and I know people are busy, but you got to take the time to carve in those things. But after I found out the news, it was a roller coaster, because there were so many things that had to be done after I got the diagnosis of breast cancer. I had to have a lumpectomy, where they carved out the lump and the surrounding tissue that was cancerous, and they also took some of my lymph nodes to determine if the cancer had indeed spread throughout my body, and thankfully it had not. But the pathologist report came back, and I had a very aggressive type of cancer called triple negative disease. And breast cancer there's so many different types of breast cancer. So, and while they were doing all of their things, I was reading. I was finding out for myself what the disease actually is, and so that I can be informed when I did go to the doctor. So I'm not going to mention any names of doctors, and I'm not going to mention any names of hospitals, but you have to be careful when your doctor gives you information. When I was going through, and they told me because of the aggressiveness of my cancer that I had to have chemotherapy. So one of my doctors asked me, what form of chemo do I want? So I thought that was weird. I thought that was just like, do I really want to go to a doctor who's asking me what form of chemo do I want? So, and I had attended the chemo class already. I had already attended the chemo class, and even that was not right, because they had people with different types of cancer, and they were going around saying, well, your hair is going to fall out because you're going to have these drugs, and you're going to have these drugs, and this is what's going to happen to you. So it was just all of these different people, and they were trying to get everyone acclimated to what's going to happen when they have chemotherapy.
As opposed to a one-on-one.
One-on-one, exactly. So I was supposed to have chemo like the very next week, and I just would not, because I did not feel, with the doctor asking me that question, with the chemo class being the way that it was, I said I'm not. I had that gut feeling telling me not to go to treatment there. So I did not. And I got all of my files, and I went to another doctor. I frequently went to the health food store. So while there, I asked the owner of the health food store about what I told him what I was going through, and he told me, this is the doctor you need to go to. You have to go to this doctor. So my thought process is this, okay, I have this very aggressive cancer. If I wait to start chemo 1 month, what's the big deal? That was my thought process. But they were telling me, oh, this is aggressive, you need to start. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to get a second opinion. And that is what people need to do. People need to get a second opinion. I was just reading an article in the USA Today. This lady was diagnosed with breast cancer. She went through chemotherapy, lost all her hair, went through everything. Come to find out, she did not even have breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
Had she taken the time to get a second opinion, she may not have had to go through all of that.
And put her body through that.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. So, I mean, and that's a prime example of why, you know, my situation. And there are countless situations where people get a second opinion and they get better care, either from the first doctor or the second doctor. So I went to this second doctor. She was out of the country. And I gave all my notes to her nurse. And they were like, she has a lot of patients. Chances are she will not be able to see you. But I prayed about it, and I was
Praise God.
I was steadfast, and I was not going to let down. And she came back from out of the country, and she had my file. Somehow it was like right on top. And she noticed some red flags. African American, 33-year-old, triple negative disease. Now up to this point, I didn't even know I had triple negative breast cancer. They told me I had a very, very bad form of cancer. As if I wasn't an educator. I mean, as if I wouldn't have understood had they really took the time to explain to me what this triple negative disease is. So she did call me. In fact, she didn't have any patients that day. She was still on vacation, but I went into her office, and it was so peaceful and so serene. You walk in the office, there's a waterfall. I mean, it was just like, this is the place. This is the place that I need. If I have to go through chemotherapy and go through all of this, I need to be in a place like this.
Right.
I was her only patient that day. So she told me everything. I mean, she set me down like she was my mother, and she talked to me, and she walked me through everything based on the reports that I had given her from the other cancer center.
And this is what should happen, really.
This is exactly what should
needed.
happen. I mean, I was out of my mind, upset and crying when this guy was asking me what form of chemo do I want. I'm like, I'm 33. I mean, I had read and was, you know, educating myself, but I had no idea.
And you were depending on this professional
Exactly.
to share at least some insight. If you make this choice, this is what happened. This choice, this, you know, as opposed to just open-ended.
And then the thing is, I don't make the choice. If I have triple negative disease and this is aggressive and this could come back, this could kill me, you give me the most aggressive treatment that's available. You know? So that was a lot to go through. That was a lot to go through. But after going to the second doctor, I felt, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And she told me everything from beginning to end. She told me that I might have to have my ovaries removed. She told me I might have to have my breasts removed. She told me everything. She
all the possibilities.
Yes. She didn't stop with, okay, you're going to have chemo and this is what's going to happen. She told me the long range, you know, what could happen. And that's what I needed. That's exactly what I needed. I needed that information so that I can make informed decisions because I worked throughout chemo. And when I had a chemo class at her office, it was me and her nurse. Her nurse
should have been.
Set me down, and she knew I was going to continue teaching. So she carved out a schedule that was going to be for me, based on my availability, based on the fact that I'm going to continue teaching. You need to have chemo on Mondays. You go in to have chemo on Monday. Tuesday, you go in and you get your shot to build up your white blood count. Wednesdays are early release days. I was dead to the world by Wednesday afternoon because it takes, for my form of chemo, it took about 2 days for it to get in my system. And that's when you really start feeling lethargic and weak. And then Thursday and Friday were days that I took off. I basically took off from work because I couldn't move. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't drive. I couldn't function, you know, because of the heavy drugs that I was getting. And she even told me the types of drugs. She said, these are the drugs you're going to have for so many weeks. And then after these weeks, you'll have this. This is what's going to happen with this particular drug. You know, they walked me through it, and it was, you know, it's not a wonderful experience, but it's wonderful to have healthcare professionals who were, you know, sympathetic, and they understood, and they were just there. They like my son said, they gave my kids a book. Your mom has cancer. Now what? So that they could read through the book and understand some of what I was going through.
Because a lot of the fear, I think, comes from the uncertainty, just
Right.
not knowing what's going to happen from
Right.
this point on, and then having some hope that, and your faith builds on that, of course, and builds that up. But having the hope that you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. This isn't the end.
Right.
So as all of this was going through, of course, as Devon and his siblings mentioned in the book as well, you guys were there busy helping mom and helping dad kind of carry some of the load, and especially you.
Yes, since I was the oldest, I had to help out the most. But a lot of the help came from my grandmother. She came a lot. She came, she took care of my mother, and she kept us doing what we were supposed to do while my mom was going through cancer. And yeah.
So that family support from your grandmother, and I think there was your mother's sister, is it?
Yes.
That also came and provided some help,
Yes.
and then you had church members who helped with providing some meals and the like, and your husband really, shout out to Pastor Jeffrey. He just came in there, just did whatever it took.
Right.
To show that support to you. I tell you, I've got goose peppers now just thinking about all of that you had to go through, which is even more detailed in the book, and the degree of support. I think it's always super when you're going through something that you're not going through it alone, because God is there, of course, but you've got all of this like a community or a village that's helping you to kind of carry the load too, and helping you to get through it, because again, that was just another step in what was a long and arduous process.
Right, and I had a lot of teacher friends around the county. After I started, want me to keep going and tell more of the story? Okay, after this was, Dr. King's birthday was my first chemo treatment. So that Monday of Dr. King's birthday, that is when I started chemotherapy, that particular Monday. So I went every 3 weeks. So, and the chemo builds in your system. I mean, the first shot was bad. Oh, it was so bad. But then the second shot was worse. And it just, after 8 treatments, it just builds up and builds up and builds up in your system. So I had a lot of teachers who donated money, donated food to our family. And when the school year ended, I was done with chemo in the summer. So the next step that my doctor had warned me of was she told me that if my menstruation continued, I would need to get my ovaries removed, because breast cancer is in the family of ovarian cancer and colon cancer. So in order to lessen the chances of the cancer coming back in my ovaries and it going undetected, because ovarian cancer is really a silent killer, she said that I would need to have my ovaries removed. So when school started back, well, over the summer, after I realized I had to have that surgery, I went to a couple of doctors. Now I knew better than just go to one doctor. Okay, who's going to perform this surgery for my ovaries? And it's called a bilateral oophorectomy. Not just a hysterectomy, but a bilateral oophorectomy. So once I got that solidified, school was starting back. So school started back. I worked for all of 2 weeks, and then I had to go in to have this bilateral oophorectomy. Now the teachers came in when I sent out a letter to all the teachers who are in the sick bank for Volusia County. Teachers who didn't even know me. They donated days. So I never missed a paycheck, and that just speaks volumes.
It does.
And I'm glad I worked during chemo, although sometimes I just was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. But my students were wonderful, the administrators were wonderful, and I'm glad I worked through chemo, so that when I asked these teachers for days, I told them that I had worked through chemo from January to the end of the year, so they were very happy to donate a day. And I mean, you got maybe a couple of hundred teachers in the sick bank who donated days to me, not even knowing me, but just reading my information, you know, feeling sorry for me. So when I had the surgery, I thought I was going to be back to school within 2 weeks because they were doing it laparoscopically. But lo and behold, they gave me too much anesthesia. So my small intestines shut down. And I had the surgery, went home the same day, which was the norm. But I couldn't digest anything. I couldn't eat anything. And I was just sick to my stomach. So I had to go back in the hospital. And I was there for another 4 days. And then I came home. And whereas most people probably would have been able to go back to work in 2 weeks, not I. You know, the amount of antibiotics and painkillers I was taking blocked my bowels. So I couldn't use the bathroom. I thought chemo was bad, but not being able to go to the bathroom, it's the worst feeling ever. So
a lot of seniors can relate to that, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. So I didn't go back because that was a long process. And then my doctor told me that I needed to have both breasts removed. My oncologist, that was her recommendation. So while I'm getting better from the bilateral oophorectomy, now we're looking for doctors to perform this bilateral mastectomy, having both breasts removed with implants, with expanders placed in. And this is where the story gets even more graphic, but I'm going to share it all because you really, really need to hear it.
Yes, yes. And I would say that to our listeners because, you know, sometimes people have relatives who they've heard that they have cancer and they tell them a little bit about what they're going through, but many times, you know, they just have no idea what all is involved. And that's the other reason you're here, and I do want you to share that story so people understand. It's not that, you know, cancer people or people who have cancer are looking for sympathy or anything. They would just like people to understand what they're going through, and to the extent that you can help, fine, but, you know, don't go thinking, oh, yeah, you're saying you're so, but you're not, you know. I mean, my sister-in-law, as you know, died from breast cancer, and she was in her, I believe, her late 20s or early 30s, and you know, they didn't catch it in time, and unlike you, it did get just spread throughout, but she still lived longer than they had projected that she would. But there are people who are fearful of don't know what to expect, the uncertainty of it all, and as a result, if they find something, they don't say anything and don't do anything, not realizing that if they went ahead and took the step to go to the doctor, get checked out, if they catch it early, they can be a success.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So when I went to 3 different doctors to determine who was going to do this mastectomy, because there's so many ways you can have your implants placed in after. And my mother, she kept telling me, let them take your boobs, but don't get any more. So I'm 33. Well, I had turned 34, but I'm thinking, I mean, at least let me have some boobs. You know, if I'm going to go around here, I lost all my hair. You know, I went through all this chemo. If they're going to take my boobs, I might as well get some nice, pretty ones. You know, I had breastfed 4 children. So, and I should have listened to wisdom.
Yes,
I should have listened
to your mama.
And I wish I had. But, so there's so many ways that you can get boobs made after they take your breasts. You can get it from your stomach fat. And I just didn't want that. I didn't want a cut in my stomach, and I didn't want, you know, it would have been nice to have this fat gone from around my belly, but I just didn't want that because the healing process would have taken longer. So I opted for tissue expanders. Now, the thing about tissue expanders that I never read or researched is the fact that I still had the residual effects of the chemotherapy in my body. So they went in and they took both breasts And they put in these expanders in place of both breasts. And I was supposed to go home the same day. That is where the healthcare industry is so not for the patients, because they call that drive-in mastectomies. I was not supposed to go home. And you know what? I did not go home. When I woke up in that hospital, I felt like I had been hit by a bus. I was in so much excruciating pain. And the doctor told me it was normal. But I said, I'm not going home. I said, something doesn't feel right. I can't move. I refused to go home. 4 days later, I'm still in the hospital refusing to go home. And they were like, well, you're going to be fine. I'm going to give you pain medicine and this and that, and you're going to be fine. So after 4 days, I went home instead of going home the same day. Because my thought process was, you're going to take my breast, you're going to insert these expanders, leave me with 2 drains on both sides of my breast, and then I'm supposed to go home the same evening. This was like a 6-hour surgery.
Wow.
So I refused to go home. And people, you can refuse to go home. You're paying for insurance. You do not have to go home. So I didn't go home. When I got home, I did not get any better. I had this nagging pain. I was taking pills, and I was doing everything, draining the pain, the valves that had the drainage from the mastectomy. I was doing all of that, and I just was not feeling better. My mom, she was cleaning the drains. She's like, this looks like pus. This looks like there's an infection. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to the doctor. This is normal. And my mom was like, this is pus. She's
not normal.
She's cleaning it with Listerine. She's like, that's an antibiotic. That's a cleansing agent. We can clean it with that. He kept saying, this is normal. This is normal. Lo and behold, it was not normal. There was so much impacted pus and infection under the expanders. I even went to the there's one doctor who removes your breast, and then the plastic surgeon comes in and he places in the expanders. So I even went to the doctor who removed the breast and told her how painful this was for me. She gives me Valium and she says, oh, they look good to me. This is normal. This is normal. Wow. And the doctor, I was going to him every day because I was not feeling any better. I was getting worse and worse by the day. And he kept telling me, oh, this is normal. Lo and behold, I wake up one day. But before I woke up that day, the incision where they sutured it together, I could see the expander. I'm like, I'm pointing to the doctor. I can see this. Oh, that's normal. That's normal.
Oh,
this is what he told me. I told him, I want these out. I said, I feel like my body is rejecting these. I want these out. No, this is normal. This is normal, he says. Woke up one day and it was exposed. I mean, you could really, really see the expander. And he happened to be out of the country. It was around Thanksgiving break.
Praise God.
So I had to go to his backup doctor. And they took tons of pictures, tons of pictures. The doctor reached his hand in that day. And he was like, when was the last time you had pain pills? Let me give you something. And he talked to me and told me what he was going to do. And he reached in and he pulled it out right there in his office. He was like, you got to have emergency surgery. It was so impacted with infection. It was horrible. And my other doctor kept saying, oh, this is normal.
Wow, wow, wow. Let me do a commercial break just to say that you're listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. My guest is Valencia Robinson and her son Devon, who wrote the book, Promise Me You Will. A lot of what you're hearing discussed is in the book, but it's just so key that you guys understand what it means to be diagnosed with cancer, what it means to go through a lot of these procedures, not to scare you, but to let you know that if you do those things that Valencia has shared, which is the self-examinations that they talk to you about all the time, you go and you see your doctor. Your doctor will do, your gynecologist in particular, will do the breast exam as well, but you do the other in between, because like you say, you go there once a year to that doctor, and you exercise and you eat right. And, the first sign of any kind of a possible lump or anything else that's different, a configuration on your breast, because you should know your body, just like you know your car. When it sounds funny, you know your body, you should know. And so you go to the doctor. And, and that's what's so great about, in my opinion, what they call Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, because it will allow people to get breast exams, etc. A lot of stuff that we used to pay for, we're going to be able to get now for free. Because I know you guys talk about government, but the government wants you to be healthy, and these are opportunities for you to do that. So the Lord fixed it, and I should say WELE 1380 AM on your radio dial in Ormond Beach, Florida. The Lord fixed it so that the other guy was out of the country. The stand-in guy, his cohort, I guess, or substitute was there, and he knew right away, even though everybody else saying normal, that something was wrong.
Something was definitely wrong. And he was just amazed that I was walking and talking. I didn't have a fever, because with all the infection that was in my chest wall, he was like, I can't believe you don't have a fever. So he told me that if I got a fever throughout the night, because he called into the OR, there was nothing available. He couldn't even get me in to have the surgery. So I had to go the next day. But he was like, if anything happens, you meet me at the hospital. I'll meet you there, and we'll take care of this. And he had to take out the other expander, and they had to scrape all of that out, all of that tissue, because they left some tissue, breast tissue, so that they can form my new breast. And he had to scrape all of that out. By the time they were finished with me, my mother said that my chest looked like the size of 2 grapefruit. It was so deep in. I mean, it was, and they didn't want me to see it, but I was like, I want to see, and I saw it, and I just broke down.
Oh wow!
And broke down, because it was a sight to see. Yes. I mean, imagine having your breast removed. So what's there? Nothing.
Like gaping holes.
Gaping holes, exactly.
And throughout all of this, Devon and see, he's gone through this, and they share this around, sharing with individuals as they give talks and the like. But you and your siblings saw your mom going through you were throwing up, and they were seeing them taking and drawing some of the pus and stuff out of you, and I mean all kinds of stuff. You could barely get up, but you were still trying to make sure that you had as close a normal family life as possible, getting with them. I read where your sister wrote about the fact that, I believe it was she who wrote that they thought it was so great that while you were going through this, you made yourself feel good enough to take them to SeaWorld?
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's a picture of us in the back of the book.
Yes.
Where, we went to SeaWorld. I was completely bald. And it was March of 2007. Yes. This was during the chemo. This was during the chemo that we went to SeaWorld during spring break, around spring break. But those are the things you have to do. You got to just take moments, and on days when you do feel the energy, and go out with your family and, do things like that. So.
And did you appreciate those times?
Yes, I really did. It was amazing that my mother could take us places like that. But while she was going through so much suffering, it really touched me that she could do that.
And you guys mentioned that, was it Thanksgivings that you would go and you'd serve meals to others? And
I started this tradition. Like, I found out I had cancer in October, so that November, before I even had the surgery, I was like, okay, God, I'm not serving enough. I'm not doing enough. We're not doing enough as a family. So we started going to the homeless shelter on Ballou Road, the Salvation Army. We started going there, feeding the homeless every Thanksgiving, every Christmas that we're in town. We still do that tradition because I was like, okay, I want to live, so I better give more, I better do more. And the kids need that.
Yes,
Our
absolutely.
kids need to give. They need to understand that people, although I was suffering, knowing that I had the cancer, that was nothing in comparison to the people who were coming there to eat, who were living on the street with their children. I mean, my cancer, I have a support system. I have family, I have friends, you know, and by that time I had a good doctor. But imagine living on the street.
Right.
Imagine not knowing where your next meal is going to come. So I just had to do that, and I'm so thankful that we continue to do that because our children need to see. They need to give. They need to. You ain't living unless you're giving. You are not living unless you're giving.
That's purpose. That's purpose. And I read where the one Thanksgiving, though, that the rest of the family went and you stayed home to stay with your mom and to help her out, right?
Yes. My dad took the three of them down to the Salvation Army and left my mom for some peace and quiet. And she had just bought me, she knew I was interested in the human body, so she bought me this kit where you could do like surgeries on like a fake plastic body. So we did that together. And we had fun.
Even when I was going through chemo, it was spring break. My sister, I had chemo on the Monday, and that whole week was spring break. So my sister kept all of the kids, but Devon stayed with me.
Oh,
and
awesome.
we went to Kennedy Space Center because I had chemo that Monday, and then that Tuesday we got up and we spent the day at Kennedy Space Center, and then got back that Wednesday. So he just refused to go. He wanted to be home with me. So even though, you know, I had chemo that Monday, that Tuesday we hung out and we did things. And, you know, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do.
Absolutely. What has this whole experience taught you about life, about family, you know, medicine and the like?
This has taught me to be closer to God because He brought my mom through all this, so He can bring me through what I'm going through. So I've learned that.
And what do you think your siblings have picked up from it, who are a little younger than you are?
My siblings didn't really understand the meaning of what was going on, but they felt touched by the situation. Like they were praying, they were praying, they were reading the Bible. They were trying to do all that they could, even though that they were young. They didn't really understand.
Now, in your helping to co-author this book, Promise Me You Will, did that title come from you?
Well, we thought of it together, basically. We thought of it together, but it really came from a poem that I wrote that we decided we were going to make the title of the poem. It was a poem about what my mom went through and what you should do now as a result of that.
Yeah, share that poem with us.
Promise me you will do self-breast exams. Promise me you will get your mammograms. Early detection is the best protection. Early detection is the best protection. And yearly exams keep you connected. God wants you to have a close relationship with Him. So promise me you will pray every day. He has a plan and purpose for you, so you must be health conscious too. Promise me you will not take life for granted, for what will bloom when you are not planted.
Awesome. Wow. How old were you when you wrote that?
I was 13.
Oh, okay. All right. He's a very smart young man, and I love hearing him talk. That's why I keep kind of pull him out so he can share some things. And you've been writing too, right?
Yes, I've been writing a lot. My mom has been interviewing me in certain essay contests. So I've been writing, and I fell in love with writing.
Mhm.
I love writing.
Now, did you do an essay for the News Journal as well one time?
Yes, I did.
I remember that. Yeah, I think was it a holiday thing or something?
Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes.
What are you thankful for?
Yeah, and you said that you were thankful that.
I was thankful to God because that was when my mother was going through cancer, and I said I was thankful to God and to my parents for helping me to understand.
And just helping to bring her through and strengthen her.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I remember reading that. So here we are. You finally got somebody who knows what they're doing and kind of starting to put you on the right track, so to speak. How many months later did it take for all of this stuff to kind of come to a point where you finally felt that everything was going to be truly all right? I mean, medically. You already had the faith, but I mean, in terms of what you could start to feel and sense.
Well, how many months? It took a lot of months because after I had these holes in my chest, they put gauze in them. So, I mean, they just packed them down with gauze, I had nurses come into my house every day to unpack the gauze, to clean the wound, and the doctor, because I was hesitant to go back to the old doctor. When he came back, he wanted to see me, and I was like, seriously? I do not want to see you. I do not want to see you ever. But I did go back to see him, but not first off. But the other doctor, he said, we need to get a wound vac. He said, I mean, it's going to take much less time if she's connected to a wound vac. So I remember Thanksgiving Day, even Christmas Day, the nurses come into my house still, because it took them a month to figure out, hey, I need to have a wound vac. So once I got the wound vac, it was on me 24/7. I could never take it off. I mean, I haven't bathed, you know, couldn't get in water, couldn't immerse, couldn't shower. It was, they would try to wrap me up with bags, a plastic bag, so that I can shower. It was, so I was leaning on my mom and my husband to wipe me, to bathe me, all of that. And once I got connected to the machine, it just sucked out all of the liquid. And instead of the nurses coming every day, they would come every 2 to 3 days, because they could pour out all of the liquid from the machine that the machine collected. So that took another month and a half. And when I decided I did want to go back and see the doctor, this was before they attached me to the wound vac. I went in and I saw him and I showed him what happened, and all he could say was he was sorry. And all I could say was, but I told you. I told you I thought my body was rejecting these. My mother told you. You know, it's like,
well, I hope he's learned to listen to his patients.
Well, you know what? Not really, because after I told this story before at a breast cancer symposium, and so many women came to me. They're like, who's your doctor? Who's your doctor? And I told them.
And wasn't he there? Did he come?
Yeah, I told them, and he was there, and he was apologetic then. But they told me, they were like, well, what year did that happen to you? Because same thing happened to me and such year. And it was after me. And a lot of these women were nurses, so they knew better because they were a nurse going through breast cancer.
But you know, even though you know at that point in time, I mean, it's like all intelligence sometimes just goes out the window, at least initially.
And we got to remember that these doctors are practicing medicine. That's what they're doing. They're practicing on us until they can get it right, until they can figure out. I mean, because somebody should have said, okay, you just had chemo, so you really shouldn't be going in to have your breast removed and having these expanders in. These expanders are foreign objects. You know, that's not what's supposed to be there.
That they should know,
it was easy for my body to reject. You know, and there's countless women who have had the same experience as me. Their body rejected the expanders. And I'm not you know, I think about it sometimes. I think about going back because now I wear a prosthesis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to go in every 2 years and get my new fake boobs, get the bras, and I have to go through all of that, and it's a headache. And I think about getting boobs again.
Mm-hmm.
But all I can think about, even though it's been 7 years and there's no chemo in my system, it's still a foreign object.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people say it was too close to the chemo, but I'm inclined to believe it's a foreign object going
Mhm.
in. It's
Right.
not supposed to be there.
Mhm.
So that is what keeps me, you know, sane and thinking, no, I don't need to do this. It's okay. My chest is completely flat and it's okay. You know, I have a husband, I have 4 children. It is okay. And after the womb vac closed up the wounds as much as they could, then I had to have an additional surgery to complete my completely flat chest. And mine is not completely flat because they had to scrape out so much of that tissue.
Mhm.
So I have like a dip in mine.
Mm.
But you know what? It's all good because I'm alive.
You're alive.
I'm
Hallelujah.
well. And so many women who started off with breast cancer with me, I mean, they didn't even have the mastectomy because the cancer spread.
Oh, wow.
They died. I speak about one of them in my book, you know, and that's just, you can have someone with the exact same disease, same age, and lo and behold, I'm the one who lives.
Another one died.
She dies.
Mm.
You know, it's so unfortunate. And another thing, this was in the USA Today. Over the summer, I read the article. African American women
Mm-hmm.
still have the higher mortality rate than Caucasian women. Go
Mhm.
figure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even in the year 2013, when hopefully people are doing their breast exams, they're being proactive. Even if they're not, they're being told.
Mhm.
So my issue is black women probably are not doing the things that they
Right.
need to do to
Mhm.
keep themselves healthy because we still have the highest mortality rate.
Right.
And my oncologist, Dr. Karen Bigman, she is just amazing. She told me that if I made it through 5 years, then I should be good to go.
I mean, you're 7 years.
Yeah,
out.
and
Hey.
she is just amazed because she'll tell me she didn't think
Mhm.
with my case, she didn't think that I was going to make it. And we speak together. We've gone to her, she's Jewish, so we've gone to her church to
Mhm.
speak. We've
Synagogue.
gone to the African American community.
Mhm.
On multiple occasions, she has gone with me
Mhm.
because she sees African American women come into the office. And she knows it's a disproportionate number of
Right,
black
right.
women dying versus white women. So she is all for helping me spread this news and tell people what they need to do. And she's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You don't have white doctors going in the black community doing this. You just don't. And that's what needs to happen.
Right, right.
This is exactly what needs to happen. And I'm thankful for Sisters Alive because that's a network of breast cancer survivors and other cancer survivors
Mhm.
who are doing things in the community, and the American Cancer Society supports them. You know, they are giving them money to do things in the black community
Mhm.
so that we can have more knowledge because knowledge is power.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People perish for lack of
Uh-huh.
knowledge.
Absolutely. And I want to again just encourage those who don't have health care, you know, check it out. Sign up for Obamacare, as they call it, which is Patient Protection Affordable Care Act legislation. And so that you get coverage, because some of the reason that it's so high in the African American community is that we don't have the health care, number one. Number two, fear. And we've talked about the uncertainty, and you know, we have things that we say in the African American community that when they cut you open, air hits it and then it spreads throughout your body, and and all these kinds of stuff, you know, that. And then I've heard that we're not the only ones who say that either. But the bottom line is that if you catch it early, then your chances of survival are, I mean, they're great. they're great if you do that. But if you wait through fear and everything else and listen to the wrong people, talking to the wrong people, then you don't survive. And having that support group, like you're saying, Sisters Alive, who are survivors, your family, your faith community, as well as neighbors, like my mother-in-law, who I know you guys are very close because she's a survivor as well. But we need that kind of support, and we need that kind of encouragement to go forward and get checked. Right, Devon?
Yes.
As you said in your poem, it's just so key that people promise, not just others and not just God, but promise yourself that you're going to take care of you, while you're busy taking care of everybody else and doing everything for everybody else. Just think about how it would be if you weren't there for all of those that you're taking care of. So you got to take care of you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And get a second opinion. I don't care whatever it is. Hip replacement, get a second opinion. You need knee surgery, get a second opinion. Because there are so many things that read up on information. Read information so that you can be informed.
Right.
When you go to the doctor. In my book, I have a list of questions to ask your doctor to make sure they know what they're talking about. You need to get a specialist in whatever you're dealing with. Diabetes, heart disease, whatever. You need to be informed, and you need to know for yourself before you go into the doctor's office. Because they're practicing medicine. Just remember that. They are practicing medicine.
And so key. Now, do you have a website?
I do. www.promisemeyouwill.com.
All right. www.promisemeyouwill.com. I'll make sure I state that on the YouTube that I do. And you're available. You guys are available to. You've been going around talking to groups, etc.
Especially in the month of October, we do that a lot, and we're always available. Always available, because this is information. And when I go to a church, like the second time, I have PowerPoints on eating, showing you portion size, showing you how to eat right, what foods are good cancer-fighting foods, all of this information about the cells and how cancer develops. And, people are like amazed when I tell them this information, because, now that I've gone through this, I've learned so much. And people need to understand that changing your diet, not eating a lot of meat, becoming a vegetarian, if not fully, just eating meat maybe once or twice a week, not eating it every day. Things like that can deter these diseases from coming into your body.
Right. And I remember hearing in the last 6 months too about sugar.
Yes, sugar feeds cancer.
Yes.
Sugar feeds any disease that you have. It can be the common cold. Sugar feeds any disease and makes it worse.
Praise God. And so it's so important that you do eat right, you exercise, and you do your self-examinations and see your doctor. Because ladies and men, because men also get breast cancer.
Absolutely.
Should mention that.
Absolutely.
That, you're prostrate, all these things that need to be checked out, and if caught early, you survive. But when you're afraid and you're fearful and everything else, you let stuff go. Guys, all you're doing is playing like Russian roulette with your life. And there are people who depend on you. Even if you're a single individual, you're out there doing something, contributing to the community, and others depend on you as well. And if you're a family person, your family depends on you. So it's important that we take care of this body, because, that's part of our responsibility. This is a vessel. This is God's vessel. And so we have a responsibility to take care of it. Any final comments from you, Devon?
Well, I just want to say to all of you listening here that believe that God will pull you through, and do what my mother has said. Get yourself breast exams. Do everything you can to ensure that you're in good health. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Closing comments from you, Valencia. He's good.
We are raising him right.
Yes, you are.
be comfortable with your doctor. That's my closing point, because people have doctors who, I mean, you don't have to be friends with your doctor. My doctor and I have become friends. We do yoga together. But be comfortable. You know, some people's like, I go to the doctor and, you know, they don't do this and they're this and that. You need to have a good relationship with your healthcare professional. Dentist, doctor, whoever. You should have a good relationship with them. And if you don't, you need to seek someone else. You need to be comfortable. You know, I had such a good relationship with the lady who found my lump because she was part of the practice that delivered the 4 kids. So she knew me. So had I not been the friendly person that I am, she probably would have said, oh, it's nothing. You know, come back in next year. But because I was overzealous and I'm friendly and we were just chatting, she was like, you know what? Maybe we should get this checked. You know, you got to have a good relationship with your healthcare providers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, go to the website at www.promisemeyouwill.com.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you can get the book and have contact information with Valencia and Devon Robinson as well, our guests. Guys, it's just been such a treat having you guys here and sharing. As that you can see, Valencia is very open about the sharing and just being real with this thing, because it is real, it is important, and it's important that you take care of yourself and that you know the right questions to ask and the answers that you need to get, and that's shared in the book as well. Promise Me You Will, okay? Be sure to go to that website, www.promisemeyouwill.com. Listen, remember to join us every Thursday starting at 6:15 or whenever we boot the big guy out of the chair as we discuss issues to inform and empower you, our listeners. Because as I said, you know, knowledge is powerful. It's important. And the more you know, there's somebody who says the more you know, the more you can go. But be sure to go to the website at www.gwen-truth.com so you can access this video that I will upload by tomorrow, and so that you can too be informed, be empowered, and stand tall for that which is right and truthful. Again, this is Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. My guests again, Valencia and Devon Robinson. Promise me you will, okay? And promise us that you will stand tall and stand for that which is right and truthful and take care of you, all right? That's the best thing you can do for those you love. Until next week, hey, be blessed and have a great week. And shout out to all of the workers for Labor Day here in America and around the world. We love you. We thank you for all that you do. God bless.
With your host, Gwen Azama-Edwards.
All right. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners.